mentor, to learn how to get active for the animals and to join us in the fight for animal liberation. You can sign up on our website at animalactivismmentorship.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Animal Activism Mentorship. So with that being said, I'm going to quickly introduce the sanctuaries that we have today. Thank you three so much for being here. We have Triangle Chicken Advocates, a sanctuary dedicated to ending the exploitation of chickens, located in Central North Carolina and run by Justin, we have here. We also have Uncle Neil's Home, a farm sanctuary located in Bridgeton, New Jersey, and run by Ryan and Scooter, who are here with us today. Uncle Neil's Home is home to many cows, goats, chickens, and any other living beings in need of sanctuary. And lastly, we are joined by Destination Liberation, a sanctuary based out of Vermont and ran by Justin. They're committed to the rescue and placement of calves who would have otherwise been doomed to the fate of animal agriculture. So we're so thankful to have each of these sanctuaries take time out of their really super busy schedule to join us here today. And as you guys will learn, running a sanctuary is a full-time job. So thank you guys so much for setting aside this time to help educate everybody about the inner workings and the importance of sanctuaries. Next, I want to introduce our hosts for this afternoon, the mentors we have today. We're joined by mentors Erin, Debbie, Michelle, and myself, Peyton. Quick introduction, I've been vegan for almost 3 years and been an activist for almost 2 years. I do activism as much as I can, whenever I can, whatever I can to just help achieve animal liberation. We're also joined by Erin, and Erin's feeling a little sick today, so I'm gonna do her quick introduction. She's a great activist. She's 14 years old, and she does she's involved with a lot of animal rescue. She knows a couple of the sanctuaries here personally, and she's done some great work with lobbying, which is a super unique talent that she has. So thank you, Erin, for joining us. And next, I'll let Debbie introduce herself. And just a quick reminder to keep yourselves muted, please, for the duration of this webinar. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat. All right, Debbie.
Hi, I'm Debbie, and can you hear me okay? Yes. Okay, and I've been vegan about 3 years and a vegan activist for about 2 years and 11 months. So immediately after turning vegan, I dove in. I was like, this is crazy. Everybody needs to know. And I'm in California on the West Coast. That's it.
Thanks, Debbie. Michelle, you can take it away with your introduction.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to introduce myself. Hey, everybody, and then I'm going to go into talking a little bit further. So welcome, everybody, again. My name is Michelle, and I started as a mentee in Animal Activism Mentorship, and now I'm a mentor with AAM. I live in New Jersey. I have 3 vegan dog babies and 1 vegan husband. And I've been vegan for 4 years and fighting for the animals for 3 years. And just like Debbie shared, I participate in as much, and Peyton, I participate in as much activism as possible. I can't not speak up for the innocent animals. I'm also self-employed as a life coach and a healer and hypnotherapist and a meditation teacher. I also do I'm a pet loss bereavement specialist. And I have a YouTube channel which features interviews with vegans and animal rights activists, and I'll put my website in the chat later. So I'll just admit one more person. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between a general description of the differences between a farm, a petting zoo, and a vegan sanctuary, and hopefully clear up any misconceptions that you might hold. So let's start with the average farm. So a farm is an area of land that is devoted primarily to agriculture processes with the primary objective of producing food, and specialized units such as dairy, pig, and poultry farms. So a dairy farm is where female livestock are raised for their milk and meat, in other words, their secretions and flesh. Dairy farmers forcibly impregnate cows to produce a lot of milk, so farmers must collect the milk from the dairy cattle every day. The milk is either processed on site or transported to a dairy for processing and eventual retail sale. Dairy farms generally sell male calves for veal meat, as dairy breeds are not normally satisfactory for commercial beef production. Many dairy farms also grow their own feed. Additional dietary supplements and antibiotics are added to the feed to improve milk production. A poultry farm is where domesticated birds are bred and raised. Poultry includes chickens, turkey, ducks, and geese. These animals are raised for their meat and eggs. Chickens are the most common bird raised for both meat and eggs. Chickens raised for their meat are called broilers. Chickens raised for eggs are called laying hens or layers. A pig farm is one that specializes in raising pigs or hogs for bacon, ham, and other pork products. It's just so hard to even say all that. It's like difficult to even like say that. Let me just let in someone else. Modern farms in developed countries, including the US, are highly mechanized. Vegan and animal advocates oppose modern animal agriculture because it's inherently cruel, exploitative, and violent, but it also puts an incredible strain on natural resources such as land, water, and fossil fuel. So to summarize, whether it's a factory farm or a so-called backyard farm, with rare exception, all animals on farms meet with the same end, slaughter. Because animals are bred into existence for the sole purpose of profit, everybody make sure you mute yourself when you come on. They are seen as property and commodities rather than an individual with a right to live. So that's farms. Now I'm going to talk for a moment about petting zoos. So what is a petting zoo? A petting zoo, also known as a children's zoo or children's farms or petting farms, feature a combination of domesticated animals and some wild species that are docile enough to touch and feed. Animals at petting zoos are relatively placid, herbivorous, domesticated animals such as sheep, goats, pigs, alpacas, llamas, donkeys, rabbits, and ponies. These animals can be touched, fed, and interacted with safely with little to no harm to humans. However, vegans and animal rights activists, advocates believe that petting zoos are bad for animals and humans. They subject animals to the stress of transport, alien environments, irregular feeding and watering, mishandling, and crowds of strangers. Animals are used as props in photo shoots, and countless people have been sickened, and some have died after contracting diseases from animals in petting zoos. Further, from the point of view of the animals, they are no different than humans in their ability to experience stress and fear. Captive environments are inhumane because they prevent animals from being able to exhibit their normal behaviors they would if they were roaming free in their natural habitats. This negatively affects their mental well-being. Petting zoos are not fun for animals, and animals do not belong in them. In addition, petting zoos teach children that it's okay to keep animals confined and unhappy for our enjoyment and entertainment. So again, in a petting zoo, animals are being used for profit. And the same goes for all zoos, aquariums, circuses, etc. So now, our subject today, vegan animal sanctuaries. What about those? So I'm multitasking, letting people in. Okay, so vegan animal sanctuaries and micro sanctuaries are completely different. They are established solely with the animal's well-being in mind. They are not product-driven or money-generating. They don't seek to get anything from the animals or force them to work. Vegan farm animal sanctuaries are safe havens for animals who have endured the victimization of factory farming. In addition to giving them a forever home, most sanctuaries are also actively involved in the rescue of animals. They often work side by side with rescue groups and organizations, and I think our guest speakers will talk more about that, perhaps. Sanctuaries care for the animals for the entire life of those animals. In other words, animals are allowed to live out their lives with autonomy over their own bodies. They are not used or abused. Very few animals trapped in factory farms and our food system ever experience freedom. But sanctuaries offer an island of kindness in a sea of cruelty for the lucky ones. And that's just a small amount, the lucky ones that are able to get to sanctuaries. Sanctuaries are typically open to the public for visits and events so that people can experience the transformative qualities of a sanctuary, connect with and learn to appreciate farmed animals as individuals. Sanctuaries educate the public and give them a chance to meet the sweet animals face to face, where they may have never had that opportunity or would. Visiting a sanctuary is an absolute must for anyone truly devoted to animal protection. The opportunity to meet a cow face to face or rub the belly of a pig is an incredibly moving experience. Raise your hand just now if you have had that experience and you can really attest to how profound and moving and life-changing it is. I can say that. This is why we must support vegan animal sanctuaries, right? It's why we're talking about this today. They are essential for saving lives and creating a vegan, cruelty-free world. Vegans and animal activists envision a world where sanctuaries replace exploitation. And as animal agriculture is dismantled, which is the goal, sanctuaries become a necessary part of the solution. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And now I'm going to bring on our first guest sanctuary, Justin Van Cleek. So Justin is president of and executive director of Triangle Chicken Advocates located in North Carolina. Triangle Chicken Advocates' mission is to rescue and provide sanctuary to chickens, educate the public about farmed animals in order to end their exploitation and promote veganism and collective liberation for all beings. So, Justin, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Justin.
Great. Hello.
Hi. So thanks for being here. Go ahead and talk a little bit, if you could, about how you started Triangle Chicken Advocates, or anything you'd like to say about your mission.
Yeah, sure. When we started Triangle Chicken Advocates, we started up in early 2014. And at that point, I had been vegan for 15 years already. My partner was also a longtime vegan. And we had been active doing dog and cat rescue for a little bit before then. My partner had been doing it for a long time. And then when we got together, I became an excited participant in that. But we started noticing that there were farmed animals at local animal shelters, and there wasn't really anybody who was trying to help them. And we really thought it was an interesting opportunity because there are very few opportunities to get farmed animals out of the agriculture system. When they're in there, they're usually locked in from the moment of birth until the moment of death. And so for us, it seemed like a really great opportunity to think about, well, hey, you know, maybe we could help these farmed animals get out of the farm system and go to sanctuaries. We quickly realized that all the sanctuaries around us were pretty full. And so we kind of realized that it was going to be a little bit more complicated than just, you know, seeing an animal and taking them to a sanctuary. But then in February 2014, we rescued 2 hens who had come in as strays to one of our local shelters. And we were planning to place them at a sanctuary in North Carolina, but a snowstorm intervened and gave us kind of more time to spend with them than we had originally anticipated. And we just fell madly in love with them. And those 2 hens, Clementine and Amandine, were really the founders of Triangle Chicken Advocates as a sanctuary. And for us, it was really interesting because we live on a 3-acre wooded property in North Carolina. So we're very small. You know, we don't have pastures and barns and things like that. We were really just a couple of vegans who decided, you know, we love chickens. But for us, what we really realized is that even with that relatively small footprint compared to other sanctuaries that you probably know of, you know, we had the means and the resources and the space to provide sanctuary to people. You know, we couldn't do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people with our space, but we could do it. And that's really where we came up with the concept of micro sanctuary. And my partner coined the term micro sanctuary when we were kind of wrapping our heads around what we were doing and what our mission was going to be, and how we were going to be, moving into providing lifetime sanctuary for farmed animals, and specifically chickens. And so since that time, we've done a couple of things. We've really focused on one, understanding kind of the domestication history and medical needs of chickens relative to the domestication that they've endured for both egg laying and for flesh production, and kind of the complications that come with that for their lifetime care, and developing the best possible care standards for them to help them live for as long as possible, and to deal with those repercussions of egg laying and growing very quickly for flesh harvesting by farmers. And then the other thing that we really focused on was to think about the ancestral kind of lineage of chickens who are descended from and have been domesticated from red jungle fowl, who actually, unlike a lot of other common farmed animals, the red jungle fowl still exist in Southeast Asia where they're native. And so what we've really done is tried to understand kind of the instinctual behaviors and needs of chickens relative to their, kind of ancestral home in the jungles of Southeast Asia. And we tried to develop, one, a living environment that mirrors as closely as possible that kind of an environment, and two, help other rescues and sanctuaries kind of understand ways to enrich the area where they live or the property that they have, so that it does better accommodate the needs of chickens. Because unfortunately, one of the things that we've inherited from the farming model and the farming mentality is that chickens are like pasture animals, but they're not. They're actually forest animals. So pastures aren't the ideal home for chickens. It really is like, dense jungles and trees and things like that. And so we've really tried to work hard to build kind of an edible forest garden basically here on our property to provide a great home for chickens. And since 2014, when we started, we've really worked a lot on building a community of chicken rescues and caregivers all around the world. Primarily we do that through a Facebook group called Vegans with Chickens, which has over 5,000 members all around the world. And then we've also done a lot of work with other educational groups to just kind of increase the knowledge of and awareness of chickens.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you for all that you're doing to not only take care of the chickens, but to advance the movement, to advance veganism, and to advance the sanctuary movement itself. So we want more of what you're doing, more people to do what you're doing, to sort of step up and do that. And it definitely, sanctuaries are on the rise. More and more are opening each day. So what would you say if there's someone listening right now who was just thinking about or on the verge of acting upon that desire or that goal to open a sanctuary? What's your best tips, or what should they do first, or what do they need to know?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. And I'm so along with running TCA, the sanctuary, we also do the Micro Sanctuary Resource Center. So we're really interested in helping activists see caregiving and rescue as a form of activism, and as a form of putting vegan principles into practice. And a lot of times when we think about activism, we think about, standing on the street with signs and things like that. But actually, if you really think about what the kind of core principles and ethics of veganism entail, to me, it makes a lot of sense to also incorporate in that kind of suite of activist activities the rescue and caregiving of animals, as a form of like practicing our vegan ethics. And so there is a growing interest in sanctuaries, which I think is amazing. I'm really excited because I do believe that sanctuaries are crucial to, and in a lot of ways, the heart of the animal liberation movement. And for me, the thing that I think would be most important would for people to one, try to learn as much as possible about the realities and kind of day-to-day work of what it takes to run a sanctuary and care for animals. But two, equally important is to take an honest assessment of where they're at and what their resources are for doing this. Because before you get into it, you really cannot understand the extent of like financial resources, personal time and energy, and just emotional resources that caring for these animals takes. And I don't say that to discourage people, but for us, what's so important is to start small and to realize that, providing sanctuary to one animal is phenomenal. You know, even with just one animal at your sanctuary who's been rescued from, you know, from exploitation, you're providing sanctuary. Sanctuary has nothing to do with how many animals you have or how big of a budget you have. It has to do with providing this this liberational care, you know, and providing dignity and respect to these animals who've been rescued from exploitation and who our society sees as basically valueless. So I really want to emphasize for people who are interested in this, you know, find out as much as you can, but also really try to embrace the importance of starting small and being sustainable. Because the worst thing that could possibly happen would be growing too quickly and then being in a place where you may not be able to care for these animals, you know, after you've rescued them. So yeah, so I'm really thrilled with how many people are interested in sanctuaries. And so I just want to try to provide, you know, kind of a full picture of how to approach it in ways that are best for you and best for the animals long term.
And would you maybe even be open to people emailing you with some quick questions if that becomes the case? But definitely what I hear you saying is it's so important to know your why, to be real clear on your why and do your homework before you sort of get started. And I also heard a sanctuary owner say once a really good idea is to take a whole year and volunteer at a sanctuary before you even think about opening your own. At least a year regularly interacting at a sanctuary, right? As a volunteer.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you don't have any hands-on caregiving experience, it's really important to try to get as much, you know, experience before you kind of take on that responsibility of being the lead person doing this. Because, you know, like we had experience doing hands-on with dogs and cats that we were able to transfer a lot of that knowledge over to our work with chickens. But we also, like, I've spent thousands and thousands of hours with our avian specialist vet learning about chickens medical care and learning how to provide care for the chickens. So it's a lot of work. And yeah, any amount that you can do beforehand before you're, you know, the one in charge, it definitely helps a lot. And I realize not everybody can take a year off to go like intern at Farm Sanctuary or something, but you know, there are multiple ways that you can do that preliminary work. And so whatever way, you know, you're able to access, I definitely encourage it.
Yeah. Like anything else new, it's a job. It's a job. You gotta learn it, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned a little bit like the day-to-day. Just folks, everybody make sure you're muted if you've just joined us especially. So you mentioned a little bit like the day-to-day. Can you give us just a snippet? I know that maybe there's no average day at a sanctuary. It might be surprises every day, something different and new. But like when you get up in the morning and when you go to sleep at night, like what is sort of your routine with the chickens? So people
well, I will say that our days is like a set routine, 7 days a week, you know, 365 days a year. We don't take vacations. We don't get away. So for me, like every day it's, you know, the animals routine is my routine. But you know, I mean, because we live on a smaller property, we live in kind of a rural but residential neighborhood. Like we try our best to practice the good neighbor policy. So, you know, we don't let the roosters out at like 5 a.m. You know, we let everybody out at kind of a reasonable time. They all have spacious living accommodations so that they're not crammed into like uncomfortable spaces, you know, before they get out. And then, you know, when it starts to get dark, like both for their safety and then for, you know, consideration for our neighbors, like everybody's in before it gets dark. And, you know, so really my day revolves around kind of getting everybody out, which takes a few hours, and then doing just kind of the daily chores of cleaning and, you know, making sure everybody has enough food, interacting with the animals. You know, I mean, they're family members for us. So one of the greatest joys of doing this is spending time interacting and socializing with the animals. And, you know, like we really embrace the mentality that every resident at our sanctuary is a family member. So, you know, spending time with them and knowing them and kind of knowing their personalities and forming a relationship with them is crucial, I think, to kind of one, like getting to know about them and who they are, but also two, kind of like really getting to understand like who they are as individuals and what that means for kind of like the way we message chickens and farmed animals and veganism. I really grounded in my experience with the individuals that we rescue and care for. And so, you know, I during the day, I'm my partner and I are, monitoring the animals, interacting with them. I usually have several other projects I have to work on during the day, whether it's, micro sanctuary, resource center stuff, or some other things. And then, as it starts to get towards evening, I start running around and getting everybody rounded up for bed, making sure nobody, is outside once it starts to get dark. And then after that, kind of collapse, eat some dinner, watch a movie or read a book or something like that. And kind of collapse. It's very tiring. It's a lot of physical labor. I carry a lot of water around during the day, a lot of food bags during the day. I'm in my 40s and I'm on my feet 12 to 14 hours a day. But it's great. I mean, I love it. It's a lot of work physically and stuff like that. I love being outside and I love being around, in nature and stuff. So for me, I enjoy it.
That's wonderful. You have to love it as much as they love it. It's a huge commitment. It's 24/7 and you can't, just take a day off, in that regard. And I know you're also reliant on volunteers and you're reliant on donations and all of that type of thing. The other thing I was thinking, you have to be really okay with poop because, poop is a big part. All types of, all sanctuary owners are going, yep, poop is part of the day to day. Dealing with all of that.
You're not comfortable with bodily fluids. That's something you want to work on.
You got to be comfortable with bodily fluids. Yeah. In both ends, I guess, as well. Yeah, and I'm curious how many chickens you have, and I know they're all part of the family. I'm tempted to ask you to name all their names, but I won't do that to you. But how many chickens do you have there? How many do you have room for? And maybe just say a little bit about, again, maybe what your biggest challenge is or your biggest ask.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we keep our chicken resident population roughly around 100 or so, and we're split pretty evenly between roosters and hens. So we're actually one of the largest rooster sanctuaries really in the world. There aren't a lot of sanctuaries that even want to deal with roosters, let alone focus on them. So we love roosters and we have a lot of knowledge of working with roosters and also creating rooster only flocks. So we have a multitude of rooster only flocks on our property. The largest has 20 some members in it. We have several that are just like 2 or 3 roosters who are best buddies who hang out all the time together in their own little area. And so, the importance of and knowledge about rooster flocks is something that we've kind of really focused on, relative to what I was talking about earlier about kind of our core kind of work that we do. So yeah, like I said, we hover right around 100. It kind of goes up or down depending on, different situations and things like that. But, yeah, like, I mean, every day I spend some time with pretty much everybody on the property, whether it's just like saying hello as I'm doing food and water or sit down and kind of give treats and let them jump on my shoulder or things like that. I interact with them all throughout the day as I'm doing chores and things like that. So, so I get to see everybody, which is wonderful. And then as far as challenges go, so a lot of sanctuaries will kind of talk about kind of the desperate need for funding. Sanctuaries are growing rapidly and are desperately underfunded because a lot of people want to really focus more on advocacy in terms of where they donate their money. And especially because some people are saying that sanctuaries aren't really effective places to donate to in terms of, veganism. I disagree wholeheartedly with that, obviously. And I'm sure other people will talk more about the kind of financial challenges. But for me, one of our biggest challenges is actually finding good homes for animals and chickens in our case. There's a much greater demand for homes than we can meet now. We have, like I said, have, a very large population of chickens, but we, get emails every single week, multiple emails asking us to take in somebody's rooster. And, we just can't, we don't have the space and the resources. So what we really try to do is to cultivate a growing community of micro sanctuaries of people, new people who are able to care for chickens and provide homes for them. So that what we can do is we can work with people to learn best care practices and then, have a little bit more options for placing people because, along the worst thing one of the worst things of running a sanctuary is losing people whom you care about just because, they're going to pass at some time. But also too is having to say no. And it's a skill that you have to learn if you're running a sanctuary is how to say no. But, it's something that you have to do. And if we were able to have more of a community of activists who were able to take in, 1 or 2 animals, the more homes we have, the more animals we'd be able to rescue in place. And so, for me, I really encourage activists who are interested to look more into what goes into running a micro sanctuary and providing care. And, if it's something you're interested in, I love, would love to talk off the webinar about like what it was involved in running a micro sanctuary. Because we hate having to say no when people have, an opportunity to get out of the farming system.
Yeah, it must be sort of heartbreaking every time you have to say no.
Yeah.
That's just one more in the back of your mind. You start to wonder.
Yeah, no, I mean, because when people ask us about taking animals, like I know what it usually means, and it's hard not to really let yourself spiral down an emotional, kind of dark staircase just thinking about these things. So yeah, the more homes, placement homes with vegans we'd have, that would be a huge help for animal rescue.
Well, we hope that is the future, and indeed, certainly there's no lack of rescuing and animals that are being rescued. And so we're going to wrap up in a minute here with you, Justin, but there was one question in the chat that was, are you open to the public? Can you answer that? And then any final thoughts that you have?
So we have done limited like visits with the public in the past. For us, we have a couple of big kind of obstacles to being open more frequently. One of which is we're on a, as I said, in a residential neighborhood, so our insurance coverage is kind of complicated with having a lot of visitors out. So just for the safety of everybody, we really don't do a lot of public tours. Just not to run into problems with that. And then also too, it's really my partner and I are the main, pretty much the main ones doing it here. So especially with like the COVID pandemic and stuff like that, we've been trying to be really cautious with interactions with the outside world, just because we can't afford to get sick. And so, since earlier this year when things started kind of building up, we really had just kind of like, shut off any visits and have tried to limit our visits into town to do the essentials, just to be safe. Yeah. So we try to do most of our advocacy through our Facebook page. And so, I definitely encourage people to check us out on Facebook at Triangle Chicken Advocates. And, we try to post photos of the residents and information about chickens up there.
So we have your website in the chat. It's trianglechickenadvocates.org. So people can reach out to you, because of course there's so much more that you could share, and that so many questions I'm sure that people have. But I guess just to wrap it up, just to say thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy chicken schedule to be with us. I know that wasn't easy, so thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And I really appreciate that y'all are doing this. I really appreciate giving attention to sanctuaries in the place of animal sanctuaries in the animal liberation movement. I really believe that the more we can see animal exploitation in terms of the experiences of the individuals who suffer it, the more we can understand kind of why veganism is so crucial, and why we should remain motivated to help them as much as possible. So I've grounded all of my vegan education and advocacy in terms of our residents and what they go through, and I think sanctuaries can really provide a lot of insights in that respect.
Wonderful. Thank you for serving those individuals and reminding us that they really are individuals, and those are the people we have in mind. That's why we're doing what we're doing. So thank you, Justin. Everybody wave goodbye to Justin. I know he said he has to run off and do some rooster stuff and some rescues and attend to things. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So next we're gonna be hearing from Uncle Neil's Home, which is a sanctuary in New Jersey. And so unmute yourself, Ryan. Unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yay. Hi, Ryan. Is Scooter still with you? Scooter still with you, or?
Yeah, Scooter is still with me. Can you guys hear me okay?
Can everyone give a thumbs up if you can hear her? You can hear Ryan? Okay, the thumbs are up. Ryan, welcome. Cool. So tell us about Uncle Neil's Home, a little bit about your mission, or how you got started, and who you have there.
Absolutely. Okay, so hey everybody, my name's Ryan. I'm with Uncle Neil's Home, and thank you so much for having us today. Scooter is, to answer your question, he's filming. So Uncle Neil's Home was started by myself and my fiance Scooter. So we had been involved with dog rescue for many, many years, for probably like 7 to 10 years or so. I had been a vegetarian for a lot of my life, and we eventually went vegan, like Justin mentioned, by seeing a lot of the exploitation videos. And so, you know, while we were doing dog rescue, and then seeing these animal cruelty videos and what was going on with the factory farming system and everything, honestly, one day we made the connection and said to each other, we want to start a farm sanctuary. We had already been vegan, and we just felt feelings of like helplessness, about, you know, we're vegan, we don't consume animal products, we don't wear them, participate in animal entertainment, things like that. What else can we do? And so we decided to look for farmland, and buy a home where we could have, we wanted about over 10 acres that we could give a home to many rescued animals. And so that's kind of how Uncle Neil's Home started. And the name actually comes from our years of doing dog rescue. We actually rescued our dog. His name's Uncle Neil. So we named the sanctuary in his honor, and he lives here with us too. And so, you know, that's how the name came about. And so our mission here at Uncle Neil's Home is to rescue neglected, abandoned, abused farmed animals while educating about a compassionate and cruelty-free lifestyle. And so today what we're going to do for everybody is give you a little tour. And unfortunately, so I don't know where everybody is, probably all over, but here in Jersey, it is absolutely pouring rain. So our plan was to take you around the pasture and, you know, look at everybody grazing and everything. But it's going to be a little bit different as everybody's kind of hanging out inside because it's pouring. So if everyone's ready, we're going to go ahead, and I'm going to, it looks like the goats are outside. So I'm going to grab my umbrella here, and Scooter will follow me, and we'll kind of introduce you guys to, you know, our residents that we have here, tell you a little bit about their stories and their personalities, and of course, answer any questions you guys have. So let's go ahead and go outside and hang out with the goats. Do you need me to shut that behind you? Got it? Okay. All right. So as you can see, the goats are grazing out here. So we'll go and hang out with them, and I'll introduce you guys. Hi, guys. Hey. Oh my gosh, they're so good. They actually really like being out here. So this right here is Mo. Hey, buddy. Are you scared? That's okay, buddy.
I think he's scared of your umbrella.
I think so. I think the cows might be a little bit scared too, but it's okay, bud. Come here. Yeah, he definitely is not liking the umbrella. But this here is Mo. And then back here, busy grazing, this is Pip. Definitely does not like that at all. Hey, Boris. And then this guy paying absolutely no attention back here, that's Boris. And so these guys actually, Michelle, you talked about this. The 3 of these goats actually came from a petting zoo. It was up in North Jersey. And for years, activists had been trying to shut this petting zoo down due to animal cruelty. And so the goats were actually our first rescue. We were not ready to open up quite yet. And then we saw on Facebook a lot of activist groups were trying to save a ton of animals from this petting zoo that had ultimately, thank goodness, been shut down. So, you know, we saw the post and we were like, are we ready for this yet? But we just felt that we could not say no. We had the land. We've got about 14 acres. And luckily, when we moved in, we literally just moved in April. So we moved here and jumped right into it. And we were like, we have the land. We cannot say no to these animals. We have the ability to give them a home, you know, because we don't know where they would have ended up. The petting zoo was trying to offload their animals and sell them to whoever would pay for them. So as you know, the fate for a lot of them, especially the pigs and the bull calves, they would have ended up on somebody's plate. So anyways, activists reached out to us and surrendered them to us. And then the 3 guys, they came here to live, and they were really scared at first, but of course, once they got comfortable, their personalities really began to shine. And now they're really happy, you know, and we love them. Buddy, they hate my umbrella, so they're not getting very close. Hi, bud. It's me. Okay, honestly, whenever we're out here, as soon as they see us, they're all up on us. They're like biting our jacket and jumping on us. And now They're just, it must be the camera. They're camera shy. Hey, bud.
So like, what's your favorite thing about goats? Had you ever hung out with goats prior to having them now?
No, I actually haven't. And my favorite thing about them, I think, is they all have like such different hysterical personalities. The one thing is Mo, the one who now Mo's kind of rubbing up on Scooter, but there you go, buddy. He's stoked. So the one really thing about Mo here is that, so when we moved in, we reinforced our property with wire fencing, especially this pasture. And Mo, every single day, somehow finds his way out of the pasture. And we heard that goats were escape artists, but we didn't know until we really got to know them. But he puts himself right back in. So we don't have to worry about him running away. Of course, it scares the living daylights out of us when he's not in the pasture, but as soon as we come outside, he's running up to us, he's letting himself back in the pasture like he knows he did something wrong. So they all just have their really silly personalities, and so it's just really cool about goats.
They're like kids in that way.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so what do you think is the biggest thing that people get wrong about goats? Like what's the biggest misconception? Because they're so smart and they're so curious. Obviously he likes cameras.
I honestly think a lot of people don't know how smart goats are. And I'm going to relate it back to our fence. We went through every inch of this pasture and we nailed it into the ground, but he will walk around and he will push himself and he'll see where he can kind of get the fence to wiggle a little bit. Oh, here comes Daisy. So I would say their intelligence is something that a lot of people might not know. Hey girl.
So who are these beautiful girls? This beautiful girl here. Tell us about Daisy, you said?
Yep. So this is Daisy, and then right behind her, she's so super sweet, and she's so beautiful. Hi, and she likes my hand. So this is Daisy, and then right behind Daisy, if you can kind of see, Scooter, if you can get that. So that's Minnie. Daisy and Minnie were our second rescues here on the farm, and we don't know a lot about their background, where they came from. All we really know is that they were found themselves in a kill pen. They were on their way to the slaughterhouse. And for whatever reason, nobody really knows, they didn't make it there. So activists had been trying to negotiate their surrender with the owner of the kill pen. And once they finally did, they reached out to us, and she's licking the camera, waddling all around. Once they were finally able to negotiate the surrender, that's when they reached out to us, and they were reaching out to sanctuaries to see if we could offer them a home. And again, just like the goats, we couldn't say no. We knew that they had probably been through just an awful life. We don't know what their life was like. No one even knows where they came from. But we just knew that we could give them a better, loving, more respectful, beautiful life. So we said yes. And it's been a really interesting journey with Daisy and Minnie. Understandably so. They were absolutely petrified of us when they first got here. If I even stepped close to her or just reached my hand out, they would like jump, run the other direction. But of course, with love and care, and with being patient, and with us understanding why they might not trust humans, we were able to win them over with a lot of love. And now they, as you can see, can't get enough of us. So it's really, really rewarding. And it kind of goes along with, what you said in the beginning. Until you can rub a cow's stomach or a pig's stomach, and feel that love that you give to them and they give back, there's something missing. It's just an extraordinary feeling. And that's what we do. We just try to give them the life that they deserve every single day.
You really are this wonderful example for this vision that we could have about humans and animals literally living side by side.
Yeah,
and then you have relationships. The relationships are their relationships like any other relationship. So you're demonstrating that even without doing that deliberately.
Yeah. What's so amazing to me, and we saw it when we were, involved in dog rescue and everything like that, is that animals are so resilient in their ability to trust again and love again, because there is absolutely no doubt. Of course, we don't know exactly where Daisy and Minnie came from. However, we know that they either came from a dairy farm, a cattle farm, and they were not treated well. They were abused. You know, they were in very horrible conditions, and yet they still have the ability to love again and to trust again. And we're just so happy that we can give them the life that they deserve, you know, because they're worth it and they're capable of feeling love. And a lot of people don't think that. They don't think that animals can feel love, but sanctuaries are absolute proof that they can. And so, you know, it's just amazing to be able to give that to them.
They have so much to teach us.
Absolutely.
About
they
unconditional
really
love. We don't always forgive. We're not always resilient, right?
Yeah.
We don't always bounce back. And the fact that they do is just
absolutely
proves so much about how really amazing they are. I love how they went inside. The rain must have like started to come down more, and they were just like, no,
Yeah.
you're on your own.
And Minnie's over there chowing down on some hay, and Daisy's ready for hay cubes. But so yeah, that's the goats and Minnie and Daisy, and then we'll take you inside so you can meet the calves. All right, ready? Excuse me, guys. Oh my gosh, they're so scared of the umbrella. It's okay. It's okay. Let us pass through. You got the door? Okay. And then I'm just going to give, oh, Mo's right behind you. Escape artist Mo. I'm just going to give, they love hay cubes. So, Daisy, come here. You want a hay cube? Yes, we do. Yeah, there you go. She loves them so much. If Minnie's out having some hay, but if good girl. She's so sweet. It's just amazing because they were so absolutely terrified of us when, you know, they first got here, understandably, but now it's just amazing how much they warmed up. I would never be able to scratch her face, touch her face, you know, kiss her on the forehead, and it's just really amazing. So, good girl. You're good. So, oh, there's Minnie. And Minnie's, they both trust us, and you know, they love interacting and everything, but Minnie is definitely a little bit more, she's always been kind of skittish and standoffish. Each day, you know, as she continues to learn to trust us, it definitely gets a little bit better, but she still is not 100% there, where Daisy, I would say, is 100% there. So every day is a work in progress, and you know, we're happy to do it.
Yeah, it's like what Justin was saying. Part of your role is to socialize them, is to spend time with them, let them know. Oh, yeah, somebody, everybody, please mute yourself. If you just got on, please mute yourself.
So we're gonna head in to meet Ollie and Hugo, and actually it's really cool that Jason from Destination Liberation is here with us too, and Jason's gonna tell you all about you know, his organization, but he actually rescued Ollie and Hugo, and so now they're living, you know, their life here with us, and I'm gonna head inside so we can, you know, interact with them a little bit more. Hey guys, hi. Okay, so this black and white guy, this is Ollie. Hey, buddy. He might get the zoomies, which would be so cool if you could see. And we can go outside with him too. You want to go outside, buddies? So this is Ollie. Look at this cutie.
Oh my
He's
God,
adorable.
so adorable.
And look, this is Hugo. Hugo's a little bit more skittish. Okay, it's okay, guys. Should we try to get him outside? Come on. It's okay. Come on, guys. Here, walk out here. Guys, come on. There you go. There you go. Yeah, so anyways, Hugo, it's okay. It's all right. So Ollie and Hugo are probably about, how old would you say? They're less than 2 months old. They're probably a month and a couple weeks. But so anyways, like I said, Jason with Destination Liberation, he'll go more into depth, of course, about, you know, how he rescues them. But these two guys, they're baby bull calves, and they were born on small dairy farms in the New England area. And, you know, in the industry, if you're born a male, it is an automatic death sentence. You know, they can't produce milk. So to the farmer, they're completely expendable. And so, you know, just like he loves my hair, this is all he does. It's my hair. And so Jason has relationships with the farms up there, and you know, he gets the opportunity to go in and rescue as many baby bull calves as he can. And so we actually saw his work online, and we knew that we wanted to do this type of rescue work, saving animals directly from the industry. And so we reached out to him and we were like, you know, we're ready to help you and we would love to work with you, kind of thing. And if you have the opportunity to rescue some calves, we can provide them with a loving home. And so that's how Ollie and Hugo came to us. They came from different farms in the area, and you know, we bottle feed them twice a day. They're on some calf starter, and really they're just living really happy, playful lives. They love running around with each other and chewing on shirts. And the cutest thing is whenever Hugo is starting to do it a little bit, but whenever Ollie gets really excited, he does these adorable like kicks up in the air. So that's like our favorite thing about like playing with them and stuff like that. But you know, it's just, you know, sad. Like the industry is very sad. This is why we do what we do, and to be able to literally save 2 lives. Like if Jason didn't do his work, and if activist groups didn't do their work, and the farm sanctuaries couldn't provide home, these animals have absolutely no fate other than death. So kind of like Justin said, if you can provide a home to at least one animal, you change that animal's life. And you know, we're just so happy to be able to have given them to 2. Hi, buddy.
It's such a beautiful, such a happy ending.
Yeah.
You know, to see, and you're right, we can't save them all, but to save who we can. It's so hard to imagine that these adorable beings,
Yep.
devastating to consider what their fate would have been.
Yep.
And that indeed male calves are slaughtered at that age or younger.
Yeah. Yep.
Right there.
It's so he gets a little bit scared. It's okay, buddy. It's all right. Yeah, it's really devastating, and you know, thank God that there are organizations and groups to provide homes to as many animals as we possibly can. And you know, that's the goal. It's devastating that we can't save them all, and in the end, you know, that's the goal: animal liberation. But you know, for now, we do what we can, and the ones that we can save, we give them a beautiful life. And so these guys, they're separated here. They're still too young and too small to go in with Minnie and Daisy. But once they're done bottle feeding and they grow a little bit more, then we'll, you know, start to introduce them. But for right now, he's getting out of the rain. For right now, they'll get to kind of like sniff each other through the fence and just get to know each other. And they love doing that. They love, like, you know, touching noses and everything. And they're really happy. They're good boys. And so, yeah, and so that's Ollie and Hugo. And it'll be really cool to hear, you know, what Jason does. So, you know, you'll learn more about how they came to us and everything. So
yeah, we'd love to hear more of their, you know, every animal has a story. Every animal at every sanctuary has a story and a happy ending. So Ryan, you know, as we wrap up with you, thank you for the work. Thank you for the work that you're doing. It really is some of the most important work. At least that's
absolutely.
So is there any final thoughts that you want to leave people with?
Final thoughts. You know, I don't know. I don't think so. I think what you know, I wanted to say is just, if anybody has any questions about you know, starting a sanctuary or caring for the animals and things like that, even like, obviously we're all vegan here, but any questions, we're always here to help. You know, we're newer and we're still learning to care for the animals and everything. But we just love interacting with people in the community and networking and everything. So we would just love to hear from anybody. And you know, soon we'll start having visitors and everything. So you know, we just can't wait to meet more people in the community, because it can get very lonely sometimes, and it can feel like you know, you want to save the world and you can't do enough. So you know, it's just really nice meeting people in the same community with the same mission and values. So I just really appreciate the opportunity to come on here and talk with everybody and just meet more people. So thank you so much for having us.
Oh, beautiful. Well, just what you've said and what you've shown helps us to be aware that you exist, and helps us to help you by just spreading the word. That's Ollie.
That's Hugo.
Hugo. you, Hugo.
What are you doing? He's kissing
Everybody
everybody
wave.
goodbye.
Everybody wave to Hugo goodbye, sweetie. Bye.
Good
Thank you
boy.
very much, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so now we're going to bring on our next sanctuary, who is Jason with Destination Liberation. And Jason, are you there? You can unmute yourself.
I'm here.
Thank you. Welcome, Jason. Just start by introducing yourself and telling us about Destination Liberation, what it is.
Okay, I definitely want to make a correction. I'm not a sanctuary.
Okay, got it.
I rescue and transport bull calves. I find them homes, private homes. Most of the time, I like to prioritize sanctuaries if they can give them a home, because I think it's very important. I think it's actually most important to not only do a rescue, but to have that story told for years to come. And babies I save in a sanctuary who are on social media and they're exposing and talking about this message that I'm trying to drive as well, that is the bigger picture, right? Because we already agree we can't save them all. We can't. It's not possible. So that's why the story, the message is actually bigger than the rescue, or as important. I mean, there's going to be a debate there, but you know, I think that's my goal, is to get them into loving homes, but also get them to places that are going to be able to tell their story for decades, because a cow can live for 20 to 25 years. And that story can be told over and over and over to who knows how many people. There's a ripple effect there that goes on that we can't even comprehend. So that my goal here with what I do is to connect with sanctuaries and private homes. When I can't find sanctuaries for them to go to, I have to vet them, and you know, I want to save them and tell their stories. That's my goal. I think that what really struck a chord with me is hearing about what was happening right in my neighborhood to baby boys. And I know that if it was puppies, if it was dogs, people would be outraged. And that's what something clicked, you know. When I heard about what happens, the calves that I brought to Uncle Neil's, you know, people have this misconception that all dairy functions the same way. And that's why you'll have debate. You'll have certain people, trolls, or even people from the farming community say, that's not true, this is not how it happens. I want to make people understand that what determines how dairy operations function largely is about the location. You know, dairy in the Southwest, dairy in the Midwest is not going to function the same way. Dairy where I am is not going to function the same way, because the size of the farms are totally different. These small farms primarily is what exists here in New England. You know, a large herd can be, I don't know, a couple hundred cows would be a large herd, where if you're in Iowa, a large herd is 5,000. So it's not, you're going to have a totally different system of operation. So that's why I've been able to become friends with, I'm just babbling here, but I'm just going to keep going. I've been able to develop relationships with small farmers, because these small family farms don't always want to kill the calves, but they've just grown up conditioned to do that. They literally will shoot the babies and throw them in a hole. It's not, they don't sell them for veal. That's not very common here, because they're, number one, Jersey calves, they aren't as large when they're born. So it takes time and money and effort to raise a Jersey calf to become worth anything. Months of feed and the time to make them worth anything as far as veal. So it's just not worth it if you only have a couple calves, especially small ones that are Jerseys. there's a law that requires a calf to be slaughtered to weigh 75 pounds. Now, to get a Jersey calf to weigh 75 pounds, someone commented that they look like deer. They do. They're little Bambis. But those calves will take time. You know, they're born 35 pounds, 40 pounds. So that takes time and effort. And they just don't bother. They shoot them, throw them in a hole. And when I heard that that was happening, I just wanted to do something. So I could just talk forever about this, but I'll let you.
No, that's really great. That's actually, you hit upon a lot that I was going to ask. And I'm just glad to count you as part of our community of people who do something. A lot of people say they're going to do, or they talk a lot, which we understand that's sometimes how people are, but to actually act and to start something and to begin to organize and mobilize, I think that's just absolutely, absolutely wonderful. So tell us a little bit more, maybe in your mind, as you think about the rescues you've done. Is there any one rescue that stands out a little bit, or is there any one interaction with a farmer that stands out that really illustrates your mission?
Yeah, the rescues that stand out, now they're all amazing because I connect with just wonderful people. I've met so many great people in this community that share the same values that I do. And that support is so important. But the amazing people I've met, from my friends at Iowa Farm Sanctuary, they're just incredible. You know, Critter Creek, I could name all these different people that are just a wealth of knowledge and have been doing this so much longer than I have. I'm so privileged to get to know these people, and I'll know them forever, and I'll want to connect with them and be friends with them forever. But I think that the ones that stand out to me the most are the times when I lose a calf, the babies that don't make it. That to me is not only difficult, but it stays with me because it's always a reminder that these aren't always happy endings. You know, there's a reason why I'm doing this. It's not to always show the happy ending, because these babies, you know, they're so vulnerable. They're removed from their mothers. They're susceptible to all kinds of infections. There's so much that can go wrong with a rescue and a calf. It's very nerve-wracking because when I have them, I'm nothing but a ball of nerves until they're safe. And even then, you know, things can go wrong. And it's all because everything we do in dairy is unnatural. There's nothing natural about it. They stand on concrete all day. They're deprived being able to graze. They are forcefully impregnated. There is nothing natural about it, so we're gonna have a lot of problems. And those problems lead to death and suffering. So, you know, in modern day society, there's no way we can excuse this behavior anymore. It's wrong. And it's an argument I cannot lose. There's no way to justify this.
Absolutely. I as you're saying that, I mean, I'm starting to cry and well up here, as I can imagine anybody with a compassionate, open heart will feel that. How can you not think about, we just saw Hugo and Ollie, and now just seeing them and hearing you speak and imagining that happening when you see their eyes and you get to know them even for a minute, I can imagine how hard it is for you. But I know it's not about us as activists, and so we just keep going, and you're on the front line, so much on the front line that, you know, it's just important for people to hear what you're doing and to hear their stories. There was one question in the chat about, do you train others to rescue? And maybe what would you say if, I mean, it's not for everybody. That type of rescue work definitely is not for the faint of heart per se, but how can the average person, if they want to help with rescue or other aspects, what could they do?
I think it's important to say that, you know, a lot of people do talk, and this is something you mentioned earlier, and I think not everybody's in a position to help, right? They, whether it's the means or they don't know how to get started, there's just many aspects of it, right? And I think it's important to stress that every kind of activism is needed. it doesn't have to be hands-on rescue. It doesn't have to be, right? If you're just talking about it, if you're spreading the message, that's important too. And I don't think there's any wrong way to do activism. I think we get caught up as vegans in this, well, you should do it this way, or you should have this approach. And I think that that is antithetical to what we want to do. I think you need the whole spectrum. But I would say, if, you know, it's hard to give someone advice on what to do, because people ask me all the time, they reach out to me all the time about, I want to rescue, I want to do what you're doing. But like I said before, not all of these locations, these animal agriculture setups, the infrastructure in the different locations functions the same way. You could live in Arizona or in Colorado and want to rescue dairy calves, but they may not give them to you, because what they do there is they raise them in mass numbers for veal, sell them to veal farmers, and then the veal farmers raise them to be slaughtered at 3 to 5 months old. You know, so it's, I can't give you specifics, but what I would say is to, you know, just network yourself, talk to as many sanctuaries as you can. And I also don't think it's wrong to approach farmers. I think that opening a dialogue there is important. I think that that's what all I did. I just started approaching farmers. And yeah, some farmers, they don't want anything to do with me. They don't want to talk about what they do, because I think that in a way they would feel guilty. You know, and in some areas of the country, they're very much aware of animal rights activists, and that they are on the defensive. So where I am, they don't know about us at all. They're not even aware of it. So they let me in their farms. I can film, I can take pictures, I can tell their stories. I'm friends with these families. You know, there isn't one answer that, you know, I can't just paint that with one brush stroke, you know, how to start. I would say following sanctuaries, talking to people, making personal connections, not just with vegans, also with farmers, you know, especially if you live in a farming community. I think it's important, though, to always have a home. If you want to rescue, it's always important to have a home first picked out before you start. You know, you need to have a place for them to go. And I would talk to, I would probably try to reach out, if you want to be active, to people already doing what I do, to try to support them and learn what they're doing. You know, and that activism could be not just open rescue, it could be going to a vigil, you know, trying to just connect with those people in that network. And then, you know, just talking more about it, spreading the message.
Absolutely.
And I'm always willing to talk to people, you know, about what to do if they want to get active.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that, for being able to sort of mentor and to teach as part of your role and educate,
Yeah,
raise
I think
awareness.
Very important.
You know, and it makes me think, of course, it's good to think we think of farmers as the enemies. We cannot think of them that way. We have to think of them as friends we haven't made friends with. We have to be kind and build rapport and relationships, because they're the ones we want something from. And we want them, would be great to be on the same side if we can convert them, right?
We don't want to, they aren't the enemy, right? What they do is the enemy. But it's very hard to see that sometimes, you know, because we get caught up in our emotions. But it's not that we want to put them out of a job. We want to give them a new job. We want them to diversify, right? I think that it's important to understand that good people can do bad things. Just because they do bad things doesn't make them a bad person. And that's really hard to comprehend sometimes, you know, because we want to just say they're evil. And I don't think that that's productive. I've been pissed off myself. I've been angry with farmers, you know, and I've cut ties with them because of, you know, their practices, and it was just too much to stomach. So I understand how it's easy to get emotional about that, but they aren't the enemy. The enemy is the system in which they grew up in, how they've been indoctrinated, how they see cows or chickens or pigs different than dogs, right? I always equate this. We love our pets. We love our companions, right? And I always talk to them about that. You know, I've had these discussions, and it can always go back to, if you wouldn't do it to a dog, why are puppy mills wrong, right? Why are they wrong? Well, if it's wrong to do to one, it's wrong to do to another. And yeah, it's easy to point out these people and say they're the enemy, which in a way, they are the enemy. What they're doing is the enemy, but the people themselves have the capacity to change. And I think we have to remember that.
Right. It's so much more. It's so much more as we unravel this. And we want people to please look into speciesism. If you're not familiar with what speciesism is, please study it, understand it. That's a great first step as well. And you know what, as activists, we all have good days and bad days. Some days it really gets to us, and other days we feel strong and we're ready to keep standing and moving forward. So, you know, sort of as a last final thoughts for you, how do you stay hopeful, or what are you most hopeful about in terms of the future with the vegan movement and the rescue movement and the sanctuary movement, which is really one movement, animal liberation movement? What gets you up in the morning and keeps you hopeful?
What keeps me hopeful is to see that there is something going on here. It's growing. There's no doubt about it. It's growing. And, you know, if we just keep talking about it and keep spreading the message and talk about subsidies, dairy is going to be the first industry that collapses, and it will. It can't sustain. So, you know, I think when you're on the right side of a message and you know it's the right side of history, then that keeps you going, right? We're right. We are right. And when you have the truth, you will always win. Even if I'm not around to see it, it will happen. So, you know, there wouldn't be another, I'm not going to be down about this. I'm driven mad by this, you know? So I'm doing what's right, and I won't lose that argument. So that's what keeps me going. And I'm hopeful because, like I said, when you have the truth, that is liberating, and it coincides with what we're doing.
Yeah, it all swings back to that basic precept that love wins. I mean, what's right wins not that there's an end point, but that is a natural phenomenon, that everything always swings back to what's right, what's true, and love. So we want people to reach out to you. We're putting your website in the chat. Is there anything else you want to share in terms of connecting with people?
No, I think I pretty much covered it, but, you know, like I said, if anyone has any questions, you know, about how to rescue, I can't advocate for just going in and rescuing without a plan. And I think, you know, and being able to reach out to local livestock vet, you know, for paperwork, or, you know, I think these things are important to do and do it responsibly. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can always reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook. You can message me. I'm an open book. So.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Wave and thank you so much.
Appreciate
There's
it.
so much to talk about here, so much to discuss. So gosh, we've gotten a lot of really great perspectives from you and different organizations and groups, and it's really wonderful to hear. So that concludes that part. I'm gonna swing it back to Peyton now for some more final thoughts and wrapping of this up.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you, Jason, and you both at Uncle Neil's Home and Triangle Chicken Advocates. Thank you guys so much. Those were such beautiful stories, really, really uplifting. I mean, this is what we want. This is the end of, you know, this is the end goal of animal liberation, having these animals live out their lives happy, safe, and free. I did want to add, there is one question in the chat from Trey, a question for all the panelists still with us. So he said, how do you draw the line between rescuing and enabling? For example, if someone is breeding animals to sell them and they try and get the unsold animals to a sanctuary so they don't have to feel guilty, yet they're continuing to breed and being a part of the problem. So how do you draw that line? I'd love to hear from both groups.
I think
Or anybody who wants to weigh in.
only Jason might be with us still.
Oh, okay. So Jason.
Let me unmute this here. Yeah, that's a good question, because it's one that I've thought about, because now you are also in a way, you would be alleviating their guilt, right? I think that's what Trey is saying. So yeah, that's what dairy farms do. They breed. I think the thing is that I'm not going to create I can't possibly save all their animals. And that's, I mean, the farms I work with, I can't save them all. And I know that, right? So they, it's a good question. I think that's where spreading the message comes in, right? Because I can show that their life, right? I can show these calves and these cows that grow up for years, what would have happened to them. They would have been in a hole. They would have been compost. But instead, they are at a sanctuary where we are teaching people about it. So that's where I can kind of balance and weigh that out and justify it. So, you know, like I said, the message is bigger. You know, thousands of people follow me, and then I see people messaging me all the time about, I'm going to give up dairy, and now I'm going to go from vegetarian to veganism. I'm going to transition. So that's where I can draw the line. But yeah, I wouldn't be able to really create a pipeline that's indefinite, because I don't have enough homes. So that's a good question, though.
Yeah, and
it's a moral dilemma.
And Jason, I mean, it's definitely a very difficult question. This is a Scooter from Uncle Neil's home. Trying to draw that line, it is very tough. You know, at every rescue point, there is always that question in our mind, like, is this really the right thing to do? Are we enabling this person to continue their practice and allowing them to keep doing it? But at the end of the day, if we don't step forward and we don't rescue that individual that they are trying to offload, you know, most likely that animal's life is now a death. And so for us, it's about giving that animal the life that they should have deserved in the first place, and that many other ones before them were not able to get. So yes, it's always difficult to sort of figure out if it's the right move or not, and where that line is. But what we also try to do, and you know, we learned this from a dog rescue, is if a breeder is trying to get rid of a puppy, let's say, one of the big things that we want to try and do is we want to try and get the mother as well with that. So, you know, when we're talking about the calves and stuff like that, one of the first things that we try to do is we try and ask the farmer or whoever that we're speaking with, you know, is there a possibility to get more of them out of there, whether it be the father, brother, sister, mother. So it's, and I realize that that's probably not really answering any of our questions, but I don't know, it's a very difficult question. So thank you, Trey, for asking that.
I'd like to add one more thing there. I think with, you know, depending on the animal you're rescuing, so I can only speak about bull calves, but these farms are going to kill them anyway. They're going to continue, right? They're not going to stop dairy farming. They're going to kill the babies. I'm not paying for an animal. I will never do that. So I think that's where I draw my line. You know, if I can find them homes and tell their stories and spread the message, then I do it. But I won't ever buy an animal. I won't ever contribute to that system, because then I'm a customer, right? Then not a rescuer. But yeah, these farmers are going to kill them. They were killing them before I stepped into the picture, and they're going to kill them after, and they still continue to now. So it's important that I do what I can to make as many people aware of what's happening as possible. You know, if I wasn't doing this, you know, thousands of people, millions of people wouldn't have seen some of these stories. So that I draw the line with obviously contributing monetarily.
Yeah, I just wanted to clear my question up a little bit. So, for example, one time I was involved with the rescue of some goats, and it was somebody who was like breeding goats to be pets. And I think what she was doing was she wanted to get out of it because she wasn't making enough money anymore. But she had all these goats left over. Some of them were pregnant, stuff like that. And we found a sanctuary for them. And the person who runs the sanctuary contacted them and basically said, like, I will take these goats if you promise to never breed them again, and made her sign some kind of agreement. I don't know if that agreement is like really like law, I don't know if anything could be done if she broke that legally or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a different situation with dairy. Like, obviously they're going to like die or whatever, but in the situation of like a continued breeding for profit, like selling the animals that are bred into existence, a little bit different of a situation.
Yeah, every situation is unique, right? Yeah. We have to kind of make those moral judgments and those ethical judgments as we see fit.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to ask too, like, do you ever have, I know that, obviously the liberation of that animal is like of utmost importance too, but do you ever like have those types of conversations when you can? Obviously it might be a little harder with like a giant dairy farm or something like that, but do you ever like have those educational conversations, like once you have the animal secure or
yeah,
like
that's
that?
A great question. And actually this is kind of the situation I find myself in a lot, where I take calves from a dairy farm, and the family is a grandfather, a daughter, and a granddaughter. Now, it's a very interesting situation, because the grandfather, he doesn't care, right? He's so conditioned and whatever, he's gone. But the mother contacts me all the time because she feels bad. She doesn't want the boys to die. And the granddaughter is actually, she's now going vegan. So my hope is eventually that this farm is going to be a sanctuary. She follows me on Instagram. We talk all the time. She wears one of my t-shirts. The whole family she's shown the whole family on my dodo videos, and they think it's the cutest thing. So I'm seeing the generational change right in front of my eyes.
That's really incredible. Wow, that's really awesome. And that definitely is a form of outreach. I think Val had a question. You kind of answered it there. Do you ever keep in touch with the farmers and tell them how the calves are doing? And I think that's such a great story about that, and how doing that and keeping in touch with them can really make that generational change. Like you said, especially the dairy industry is a dying industry. It's failing. It's going to be one of the first to fall. And if we can get out of that generational cycle of, the lineage of dairy farmers, I think this is a very great way to get out of it. So thank you for that story. That's definitely really inspiring, Jason. So along those lines, next, Debbie is going to talk to us about what we as vegan activists, as vegans, as just animal lovers, can do to promote sanctuaries and support them, so we can help achieve animal liberation. So take it away, Debbie.
Hi guys. So I spoke with one of our sanctuaries in near San Diego this last weekend. I was out there petting some pigs, cleaning out some houses. We had a volunteer day out there from our vegan group. So of course we have, monetarily donating helps these sanctuaries. Our group is going to be running a fundraiser to help her with some drainage. So monetarily, but also items, we can see what they need: blankets, bedding, just random food items. If you're ever driving by, like today we're going camping, we're going to be passing by out there, to stop up at Costco, pick up some goodies for the animals and just drop them off. Volunteering, and of course right now with COVID that can vary from places, but once this madness is over, you know, just volunteering your time can help with, you know, just like we did this last weekend, helping the pigs. They like clean houses and then get their houses nice and clean for them. But her number one ask was spreading awareness. She was just like, that is key. Some people don't even know we're here, and she's been there for quite a while. Social media, and I've seen several on TikTok, animal sanctuaries, vegan animal sanctuaries, where it's amazing because for some reason people don't get angry with them. They see the animals and they're just like, oh, they're amazing. But then they can also talk about veganism as well. And I feel like they don't get as much of the hate as us, just activists without those amazing animals. And maybe there's that connection, that story of those animals, and maybe that helps. So I think it's a perfect combination to be able to do that through social media on, you know, whichever platform. And I think that's something we can do, is maybe pick out a specific animal and tell its story and have people start to relate and connect it, not just as an object, but as a being and their personality. And then the other thing came up with was Nextdoor. If you guys have Nextdoor, where your local neighborhood, that's a great way to say, hey, I'm going to be going to this animal sanctuary nearby. I can pick up blankets or whatever the ask is of that sanctuary, their wish list. Anybody want to donate? And I think, you know, maybe just that could be a two-way bonus where you're getting items and you're advertising for them and letting them know that they're out there. And another thing I've seen actually through the animal activism mentorship was Mikey did, I think it was last year for his birthday, he would raise money for a sanctuary and he would do an exercise. And so like, okay, do 100 whatever push-ups or 10 burpees, and you know, the donations go to the sanctuary, just so, you know, besides like car washes and bake sales, and it's just your creativity, whatever speaks to you, whatever way to be creative and to earn money and to really help these amazing sanctuaries, because yeah, that's their only chance. And it's amazing that they're there, and we have to support them, and pushing them on social media, I think, is the absolute best way to get it out. And I think that sums up everything, unless anybody wants to add anything.
Thank you so much, Debbie. I think you really hit it. Advocacy is so important. Getting the word out, telling these animals stories, really trying to touch as many people as we can through social media, to ultimately, you know, end these systems that seek to exploit these animals. So with that, I'm going to finish us out on just a couple statements. I just want to talk about why sanctuaries are important to vegan activism, and not only important, I'm going to say that sanctuaries are integral to vegan activism. They are the pinnacle of vegan activism. We are not going to achieve animal liberation without these sanctuaries. It's not possible. It's just not going to happen. Of course, you know, as we seek to end these industries of animal exploitation, whatever they be, through entertainment, petting zoos, animal agriculture, these animals are going to be bred less and less as that demand decreases. But in the meantime, right now, today, these animals need to be liberated. They need to be rescued. They need to be gotten out of this cycle of exploitation and abuse. And when we as like boots on the ground activists doing outreach and making these rescues, as we go out and do that, there's not a magical land like called sanctuary that these animals can go to. It takes people like Uncle Neil's Home, like Destination Liberation, Triangle Chicken Advocates, and all the other sanctuaries, putting their time, their money, their emotional thresholds on the line for these animals. They need our support as the people who actually do these rescues, to help them succeed, because sanctuaries, as I'm sure you all learned today, is an around the clock job. It's 7 days a week. There's no vacations, there's no breaks, because these animals' lives are on the line here. It's a full-time job caring for them, and just even attempting to undo some of the abuse that human beings have put them through their entire lives. It's absolutely wonderful, you know, when we can rescue an animal from abuse, exploitation, or like eventual murder, but it wouldn't happen without these sanctuaries. So, and they really are the future. I feel as we get closer to the end goal of animal liberation, of total animal liberation, sanctuaries really are the future. These animals, they're going to need some place to live out the rest of their lives. They need sanctuary. They need to live at sanctuaries. And like Debbie touched on, and everybody else touched on, they need our support, whether we can provide that, you know, financially, just helping their facilities keep up, or just with our time, going to a sanctuary if they're open to the public, and volunteering, or just making simple donations to make these animals' lives a bit more happier. We need to support them as vegans, as vegan activists, and just as animal lovers, as, you know, people who say that we want animal liberation. This is exactly what the future is, and this is exactly what we need to be supporting, is these sanctuaries. So with that, I want to conclude the webinar. Another huge thank you to Triangle Chicken Advocates, Uncle Neil's Home, and Destination Liberation for joining us today, sharing their homes, their knowledge, and their passion with us, for taking, you know, time out of their very packed and busy schedule. Again, I want to reiterate that this webinar was brought to you by the Animal Activism Mentorship. You can sign up to our free program to learn all about how to get active for the animals and join us in the fight for animal liberation today by going to our website at animalactivismmentorship.com, or following us on Facebook or Instagram. So thank you all so much. Anything else to say? That is it. We all made it. Thank you guys for joining us so much. Have a great rest of your day. Wave bye to all the sanctuaries.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Peyton.
Thank you guys for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, beautiful animals.
Yeah.
Good luck, everybody.
You too.
Thank you.